9. Asia Wilson is 1 for 12 as the foul is called on Boston, and that will be number 2 on Aaliyah Boston.
You saw Indiana picking up full court pressure defensively, and if you're Aaliyah Boston, that's the one spot on the floor you do not want to get a foul call.
And Stephanie White is trying to challenge it and did not call the timeout in time. Ray in the corner. Connect!
Game 3 wasn't basketball. It was daylight robbery. Indiana built a lead, won the effort plays, and then a flurry of whistles flipped the scoreboard like a light switch. If you watched it, you felt it. If you didn't, I'm about to show you exactly how it got stolen. In the next few minutes, the 3 calls that changed everything, the ignored challenge that detonated momentum, why Lexie Hull's performance deserved the headline, and yes, we're naming names.
Asia Wilson sets a screen where she extends her leg out, but of course they call the foul on Lexie Hull for Asia Wilson's illegal screen. Then Asia Wilson and Alyssa Smith totally foul Michaela Timpson, but there is no call. Could have took a 1-point lead going into half. Now we're up by 3 and they call a foul that isn't a foul. So we don't get calls when we're getting hit, but the Aces get a call when nobody touches anybody.
Quick challenge. If you still believe the Fever can bounce back, type "Let's Go Fever" in the comments. And while you're there, was that third quarter no challenge sequence the turning point? YN below. From the jump, the officiating leaned toward Vegas like a crutch. Game 1. Every time Indiana's physical defense stood its ground, the possession ended at the stripe for the Aces. Game 2. Same story. Whistle after whistle, rhythm shattered, Stephanie White calling it out post-game because you can't get into flow when the clock stops every 10 seconds. By Game 3, it wasn't a trend, it was a wall. Indiana climbed it anyway. Then the whistle became the ladder for Vegas.
2-minute recap from last night. So Asia Wilson pushes Howard in the back. Howard pushes her in the back. It's a foul on Howard. Look at this. Aaliyah Boston gets totally fouled by Alyssa Smith. Like, it's obvious, but no call. And then Asia Wilson gets the call for not half as much. And then Alyssa Smith gets the call for not even getting touched. Here's a replay just to prove it to you. Yep, didn't get touched.
Third quarter. Aaliyah Boston is tagged with a foul on Jackie Young. Stephanie White motions immediately. Challenge it. Bench is up. The request goes unrecognized. Seconds later, Chelsea Gray drills a corner 3. In one breath, a potential swing for Indiana becomes a 6-point momentum bomb for Vegas. The crowd goes from roar to disbelief. Online, the clips explode. Slowed down frames, hand placements, feet set body angles, all pointing to the same conclusion. It wasn't just points, it was oxygen pulled from a building ready to erupt.
Offensive foul, practically a football check, and the Aces score. So now the Aces cut it to 2, and then Asia Wilson sets an illegal screen, and they tied things up. And then Lexie Hull gets called for a foul for doing nothing when they just had 2 illegal screens they didn't call. All right, so this is fair. Same thing happens on the other side, but they don't call a foul for Kelsey Mitchell. So Leah Boston gets called for this foul for getting her arm grabbed, but Stephanie White can't challenge. They won't let her. That's the second time this game they didn't let her have her challenge. And then Asia Wilson starts acting like a big baby.
Illegal screens with an extended leg. Foul on Indiana. Obvious contact on a Fever drive, play on. 2 identical actions on consecutive trips. One side gets the call, the other gets a shrug. Offensive shoves on box outs, undercuts that turn into verticality, phantom touches that magically become shooting fouls. And when Indiana tries to stop the bleeding with a second challenge, same treatment, nothing to see here. This isn't about one whistle. It's about an accumulation that dictates tempo, emotions, rotations, and ultimately the score.
And then here we go. She gets a foul call with a 3-point game for, I don't know why they called that foul, but it's the third quarter and they want them to win. So here we go. Ace is up by 3. They call another foul for Asia Wilson that isn't a foul. All right, so then they call another foul on the Fever that isn't a foul. And then to end the game after it's out of control because the Fever had a 6-point lead, but they kept calling fouls, another foul for Asia Wilson that's not a foul. Ball don't lie. Asia missed 11 shots in a row during this game.
Here's the part that stings most. On the same night the game tilted, Lexie Hull authored her best playoff performance in a Fever uniform after being questionable with a back issue. She didn't just play, she imposed. 16 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 blocks and a steal. 6 for 10 from the floor, 3 triples that arrived like lifelines. She tied the franchise mark for threes across 2 playoff games and set a playoff career high in scoring, while grimacing through contact, diving on the floor, ripping jump balls, and out-battling bigger bodies for rebounds that had no business being Indiana's. The camera caught the pain, the arena felt the grit. That's why the building stayed with the Fever even as the whistle storm rolled in, because Hull refused to let possessions die.
12-point game, a little under 2.5 to go. Hull hits Indiana's first field goal of the quarter.
On the left side of the floor, just a clear out, letting Jackie Young go to work.
Jackie Young with 17 points. Boston to the corner. Hull catch, fire, and hit. Correct call. Evans dishes. Ray whips a pass inside. What a denial from Lexie Hull.
Hull able to save the play.
Let's talk about the MVP candidate on the other side. A'ja Wilson opened with a made 3, and then missed and missed and missed. At halftime, 1 for 11. She finished 6 for 20, 13 points on 20 attempts. That's not an off night. That's Aaliyah Boston putting a masterclass on film. Body positioning, chest-to-shoulder angles, showing hands, forcing fadeaways instead of power moves. And still, somehow, the Aces got every runway they needed. Jackie Young poured in 25. Chelsea Gray chipped in timely buckets. Calls arrived when momentum wobbled. So while the box score says Wilson struggled, the result says Vegas survived anyway. That is exactly why fans walked out of Gainbridge furious, not because the other team played great, because the game never flowed the way Indiana earned.
Boston has the mismatch on Lloyd. Help comes. Kick out. Hull will fire. And hit from 3. Last 2 positions inside from Indiana. Smith tied up by Hull. And a jump ball between Smith and Hull.
Next morning, the narratives soften. All-around impact. Depth stepped up. Physical series. Okay, but say the quiet part too. When an MVP candidate shoots barely 30% on high volume, someone on the other side did elite work. That someone was Boston. And when a team living at the stripe for 3 games gripes about its own lack of free throws in one stretch, it rings hollow. You can't have it both ways.
Back to Hull. Wide open 3. It's good.
The floor that she wants, doesn't it?
It does. Mitchell. Connect. Here's Mitchell. Mitchell, one more. You bet.
This is bigger than one call. Indiana earned separation with defense, pace, and toughness, then watched pivotal sequences get officiated into thin air. The no-challenge sequence is the symbol, but the effect is cumulative. Each phantom foul changes matchups, foul trouble alters rotations, and an extra 2 points at the line is 2 fewer points of crowd pressure. That's why the arena felt offended. The Fever didn't get outplayed. They got out-whistled.
2 as well.
Here's Hull. Working behind Boston. Boston was open. Great dig. And Boston lays it in.
Wilson's confidence was shaken by Boston's bodywork. Jackie Young is carrying a star's load. Great, but top-heavy. Bench contributions look better at home than on the road. And Gray's shot-making is elite, but make her legs guard in space and those jumpers arrive an inch short in the 4th. If Indiana keeps Vegas off the line and forces contested 2s, the Aces must actually create momentum instead of inheriting it. That's where the Gainbridge wall matters. Each stop becomes a wave. The Aces haven't loved that building this year. Indiana can make them hate it.
Sims. Hoist. Short. Look at Hull coming screaming in for the rebound. Boston trying to body Wilson, and it does. Sims back to Boston, going back to work and dropping it in. An aggressive and effective Aaliyah Boston.
Even beyond Sunday, this is about sending a message to the conference. The Fever are done being the team that needs a perfect whistle to win. This core knows how close it is, even shorthanded. Hull's toughness, Boston's gravity, Mitchell's microwave. Add back a healthy roster next season, and the margin for error disappears. Force Game 5 now, and every scouting report next year opens with the same sentence: you can't push Indiana around.
Here's Boston, back to Hull. Sets herself up. Mitchell is free, playing it in. Been a while since Mitchell has gotten a shot attempt. Mitchell will get one here. It's hit.
Game 3 didn't slip away. It was pried loose. Indiana's defense deserved points on the other end. Instead, the scoreboard got curated. That's why Fever fans are furious. That's why neutral fans are talking. And that's why Sunday is more than survival. It's a referendum on whether a team that wins the dirty work categories gets rewarded or reset by a whistle.
On this first half, Young attacking and denied. Timpson on the block. Hull needs some help. Dump it in Boston. Find the cutter. Timpson lays it in.
You'll see Boston catch deep and go quick. 2 feet in the paint. Glass. Good. You'll see Mitchell's first 3 lead to her second. Then the building tilts. You'll see Hull flying in for a putback nobody saw coming. You'll see Vegas forced into half-court jumpers with tired legs. You'll see the whistle stop deciding pace and basketball decided instead. And when that happens, this series changes zip code. Suddenly the Aces need their MVP to be MVP on merit, not margin. Indiana didn't lose Game 3. They had it taken. Sunday is the payback window. Keep the ball hot, put Boston on the block, unleash Mitchell early, ride Hull's engine, and make Vegas win straight up. If you think the Fever answer the call, hit the comments with "Let's go Fever." Like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the post-game breakdown. And if you want the frame-by-frame of that third quarter sequence, click the video on screen. We'll see you there.